for the most part, the fire typing is one of the best typings in all of Pokemon. You have some great Pokemon such as Victini, Heatran, Infernape, and Volcarona, just to name a few, and even in the lower tiers there are some pretty good fire type Pokemon like Magmortar, Typhlosion, and Incineroar. All around, fire type Pokemon are pretty good with the exception of Heatmor. If you guys are unfamiliar, in this series, we'll take a look at some of the worst Pokemon in the game and discuss if they are completely useless or if they have some sort of viable use. Each Pokemon will be rated on a scale 1 to 5 based on their offense, defense, versatility, move pool, and overall viability. If a Pokemon doesn't excel in any of these categories, then it is deemed to be one of the worst Pokemon. If one of the Pokemon discussed in this series happens to be one of your favorite Pokemon, I'm sorry, but just because a Pokemon is your favorite doesn't mean that it is safe from being in one of these videos. If you guys enjoy this and want to see more, make sure you subscribe and leave a like, and let me know in the comments down below what Pokemon I'll see featured in this series in the future. And also, don't forget to check out the full playlist link of this series in the description to see what Pokemon are featured on this series so far. So I've gotten quite a few comments lately saying I should make a video on Heatmor, and Heatmor might just be the worst fire-type Pokemon ever. Heatmor is also a pretty forgettable Pokemon similar to Carnivine, which was featured in this series in the past. Heatmor was introduced in the 5th generation and has a pretty interesting relationship with Durant. Durant is Heatmor's preferred prey, and Heatmor melts Durant's steel body with its tongue and then consumes Durant's insides, which is pretty crazy. Pokemon has some weird lore like that with some other Pokemon as well, but all around I would say that Durant in general is just a much better Pokemon than Heatmor, even though Heatmor is a Pokemon that uses Durant as its prey. Heatmor has the abilities White Smoke, Gluttony, and Flash Fire, which are all pretty decent abilities to have, with Flash Fire arguably being the best. Heatmor has a stat distribution of 85 in HP, 97 in attack, 66 in defense, 105 in special attack, 66 in special defense, and 65 in speed. Heatran is one of those Pokemon that isn't exactly sure what it is. Now, it does have 105 special attack, which is nice because you don't see stats above 100 in this series too often. Then 97 attack makes it look like an okay mixed attacker, and even with that low speed stat, it has mediocre bulk. Having Gluttony is a pretty cool ability to have. You can take advantage of berries like Figgy Berry or Salac Berry, but even that is pretty difficult to pull off on Heatmor. And now let's take a look at some of the positives, and I think there's actually more positives than negatives for once, which is interesting. So for the first positive, 105 special attack. Like I said, stat over 100, A+, Heatmor, A+. Well, not really A+, but it's better than nothing. Also has a usable attack stat of 97, which isn't amazing, but it's almost 100, and it's an okay attack stat, so that is a positive in this series. Heatmor also has a pretty decent physical move pool with moves like Knock Off, Sucker Punch, Thunder Punch, Shadow Claw, Low Kick, Pursuit, and Fire Lash, which is its signature move, which is 80 base power and 100 accuracy, that lowers the target's defense by 1. An interesting thing about this ability, or this attack I should say, is this attack was introduced in Gen 7. It's not like Heatmor came in Gen 5 with it. For whatever reason, they decided to give Heatmor a signature attack in Gen 7. I have no idea why. It's not like Durant has a signature ability or anything, so I don't know why they exactly did that. It also has access to some decent utility moves such as Knock Off, Taunt, Recycle, and Will-O-Wisp. Recycle is obviously cool because you have Gluttony, you can take advantage of some of those berries, but again, it's a little hard to pull that off. And for the last positive, you have 3 pretty usable abilities. Flash Fire is great, Gluttony is cool, and White Smoke isn't the worst, especially if running a physical set. And now on to the negatives. Heatmor has a pretty shallow special move pool. There's quite a few Pokemon like this that have one attack stat higher than the other, except the attack stat that's lower is the one with the better move pool, and that's the case with Heatmor. Another negative is Heatmor is pretty much completely outclassed by Simisear. Now they both have comparable bulk. Simisear has slightly worse bulk. However, Simisear has 101 speed, which is pretty good, and 98 in both attacks, which is comparable to Heatmor's 105 and 97. Another negative is Heatmor is just slow. 65 speed really is not ideal. Even in the lower tiers, you're not going to outspeed many things. And to go on top of that, you have mediocre bulk. Generally speaking, if you're a slow Pokemon, that's okay if you have decent bulk so you can take hits. But if you're slow and you can't take hits, you're just going to die. And now some ways to make Heatmor better. In my opinion, give it better physical attack than special attack. You do not need special offense on this Pokemon with the physical move pool that you have. If this thing had a worse special attack stat of say even like 80, and then you boost the attack stat to like 110 or 115, I think this thing would be a lot better, especially if you add some more bulk on top of that. Because if this thing can be a bulky Gluttony user with some decent physical moves, I think it'll be an okay Pokemon. Another thing they can do, which is kind of a little bit of a stretch, is they can make it a part bug type. Now, Heatmor is an anteater, so it would kind of make sense to make it part bug type, because it does eat bugs, I guess, but at the same time, I understand why it's just a fire type. Being bug fire would be really, really cool, because that'll mitigate some of the weaknesses, but at the same time, being mono fire is fine as well. And now on to the ratings. In terms of offense, Heatmor will get a 3 out of 5 because its attack stats are decent and has some good enough coverage to warrant a 3 out of 5. The speed isn't there, however, but since Heatmor has strong move options with moves like Flare Blitz and Sucker Punch, I will give it a 3, especially to go on top of that 105 special attack stat. For defense, I'll give Heatmor a 2.5 out of 5, which is right in the middle. I feel like a 3 would have been a little bit too much because a 3 is actually okay, but a 2 would have just been too low, so I gave it a 2.5, which is right in the middle. 85 HP really isn't the worst, 60s in defenses is pretty mediocre, but with Gluttony and Figgy Berry, if you're able to pull it off, that does help this thing a bit, and it makes it not as frail as it really is. This thing also isn't the frailest thing ever, there are definitely much more frailer Pokemon, so I'll give it a 2.5, which is, you know, almost, 2.5 base means you're almost there, like you're almost okay, but not quite. For move pool, I'll also give Heatmor a 2.5 out of 5. Again, this Pokemon's move pool isn't the worst, and I feel like a 2 would be too low while a 3 was just too high. You have some pretty decent physical options, and on the special side, you don't have the worst options, I guess. And you have some okay utility moves, which is why I give Heatmor a 2.5. Like I said earlier, a rating of 2.5 basically means you're almost okay, but you're still kind of bad. For versatility, I will give Heatmor a 2 out of 5. All of its abilities are pretty usable, which is nice. And it can be used as a physical attacker, a special attacker, or a mixed attacker, which is why it gets a 2 for versatility. Not exactly a good rating, but there are some slight versatility options involved with Heatmor, which warrant the 2 out of 5. And for viability, we have another decimal rating, and I will give Heatmor a 1.5 out of 5. I know there's a lot of 0.5 this episode, but I feel like a 1 would be way too low because a 1 means this thing's completely useless, but a 2 would be too high. To be fair, Heatmor does have some slight viability, although things like Simisear and Flareon are all around better than Heatmor in the lower tiers. Heatmor does have a few niche options that make it slightly different from those two Pokemon and give it some slight viability, which is why I'll give it a 1.5. In closing, Heatmor is arguably the worst Fire-type Pokemon. In the lowest of low tiers, it is outclassed by Simisear, which surprisingly isn't a horrible Pokemon, and you can even argue that Pokemon like Rapidash and Monferno are better. And Monferno is not even fully evolved, and we exclude NFVs from being featured in the series because it's not really fair to include them. On the bright side, Heatmor does have some unique uses, but like most Pokemon in the series, Heatmor is just okay at some things and not particularly good at anything else. There are other Pokemon that do things that Heatmor does better. And that's Heatmor. Let me know what you think of Heatmor in the comments down below. And of course, let me know what Pokemon I want to see featured on this series in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like and check out the full playlist in the description to see what Pokemon is featured in this series so far. Have a good rest of your day. I will see you guys next time, and bye-bye.